This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Celebrate Lunar New Year parties with help from Whole Foods Market. Find yellow sale signs on Asian-inspired ingredients like whole fish, stir-fry ready shrimp, and organic ground pork that's great in dumplings. Explore fresh veggies like napu cabbage, bok choy, and komatsu na. And check out the floral department for money trees, orchids, and more. Perfect for gifting. Find good fortune and flavors through the 24th at Whole Foods Market.
Hi, I'm Eve Muirhead. I'm Chef de Mission. You're listening to Anything But Footy with the latest on the Winter Olympics.
Well done, Eve Muirhead and Team GB. A final flourish in free ski and curling means it's Britain's most successful ever Winter Games in history. I'm John.
And I'm Michael. This is the latest and quite possibly the last Milano Daily from Anything But Footy, talking about the Olympics and the Paralympics all the time. So no, we're not going to shut up about it. Not just once, every 4 years.
Zoe Atkin bags bronze in the halfpipe as Eileen Gu leads a China 1-2.
Silver success again for Team Mouat in the curling. What next for Bruce and the boys? It's the question we're told not to ask, but I asked.
You know, we're still missing that gold medal, so you never know what's going to happen.
Double Olympic champion Matt Weston and 4-time Olympian now gold medalist Charlotte Banks will carry the Union flag at the closing ceremony tonight.
The Winter Olympics have been described as an incredible fortnight by UK sport. But where do they go from here?
I'm Dr. Kate Baker and I'm Director of Performance and People at UK Sport.
We round up the rest of the news from the Games, and Olympic news continues away from the Winters as well. This is Milano Daily from Anything But Footy. Download, listen and follow. We are here all the time, not just once every 4 years.
Hi, I'm Adele Nichol and you're listening to Anything But Footy with the latest on the Winter Olympics.
3 golds, a silver and a bronze. Team GB's most successful Winter Games in history. The total of 5 medals equals the tally of Sochi and Pyeongchang, but Britain had never won more than 1 gold in a Games before Milano Cortina.
Zoe Atkin won bronze in the women's free ski halfpipe on the very final morning of the Games. She was the final Team GB athlete in action. It was, of course, delayed from the night before due to the snowy weather in Livigno. That snowy weather which halted my plans to get to Livigno, incidentally, but it's not about me. The bright blue sky was the perfect background for Team GB as they won their 5th and historic medal at these Winter Games. Now, she had led from run 1 with a brilliant 90.50, which meant for the second and third runs, she'd go last and know exactly what she needed to do. The second run got some huge elevation, but she slipped off the halfpipe and she lost her ski, so that one didn't count. The third run improved her overall score to 92.50, so massive jumps again, 5 meters in height, brilliant elevation, but it wasn't quite enough to change her place on the podium. And the 23-year-old, born in America, but her dad, he's from Solihull in the West Midlands. She sent us a voice note giving her reaction as she made her way to the closing ceremony in Verona.
Pretty awesome. I'm definitely super stoked. Definitely having a lot of emotions right now. It's kind of crazy. I've been thinking about this moment for at least the past 4 years and working really hard, and I'm just really stoked that I was able to put down a good run and be really proud of my skiing, and an Olympic medal is definitely some icing on the cake, so I'm definitely super stoked. It's definitely nerve-wracking, and I was definitely stressed, and with the delays and everything and just the weather, there were so many variables and everything, so it just took a lot to be kind of mentally strong and mentally stable and really just be in the present moment and be ready for when the competition came. And this morning it was just such nice weather and I had really good training and I just felt really good, and yeah, I'm just super stoked I was able to put one down, and I'm super proud of myself for kind of maintaining that mental clarity and mental stability for sure, because it can definitely get super overwhelming for sure. My sister's always been my biggest role model. She was the reason I got into the sport, and watching her win an Olympic medal in 2018 in Pyeongchang was super inspirational for me, and I was like, I think that's the first time I was like, wow, maybe I could also do that one day. And so that kind of breaking those barriers and kind of showing me what's possible within sport was something that my sister did for me. And so to have her watching me at the bottom is kind of super full circle, just like when I was watching her in Korea. And I'm just super, super stoked that we have these matching medals now.
Zoe Atkin, the bronze medalist, China's Eileen Gu, on her third medal of Milano Cortina and her third Olympic gold, won it, having won 2 silvers before today. The Beijing champion scored 94.50 in her second run to win the gold. Fang Yu Li winning silver in a China 1-2. The perfect end, Michael, to somewhat up and down games. I can't say perfect games for Team GB, but we mentioned at the start Eve Muirhead. What a job she's done.
Yeah, I think when you look at the overall statistics, and we'll hear more about them shortly when we speak to UK Sport, I think obviously not just the historic medal return in these games, but we know there's been a number of fourth place finishes. And what I'm interested to hear from UK Sport about that is they're not just satisfied with going, look, we got a number of people fourth in the games, and that's a really good place to finish. They're going, we've got a number of people fourth in the games, but could we have done anything different to have got them onto the podium? Was fourth as good as they could have got? Could they have won a medal? But then with this team of 53, you're approaching about half of that have finished in the top 10 in these games as well. And I think that is the other sort of standout statistic. That's not one that's going to get you on the back page of a newspaper tomorrow. Team GB in loads of top 10 finishes at the Winter Olympics. But when you look at the return of investment on the size of the team they sent, this small, focused team, and we've talked about that, haven't we, in other sports, with athletics and with cycling, for example. This small, focused team have done well across the board.
And we've got some youngsters coming through. We saw Liam Richards in the half pipe performing for the first time. And he told you, I think, in the interview that we heard this week, I'm only here for the experience. So, yes, you've got some experienced people like Dave Riding, who retired, or Brad Hall in the bobsleigh, we'll talk about in a moment. But you've got those youngsters coming through as well. And as you say, everything about sport now is about detail. It's about analysis. It's about the stats. It's the statistics. If you look into them, have we got better? Have we progressed from Beijing? And I think you could argue that absolutely we have, as a nation across different sports, got better. And that is all we can ask for.
As we know, it wasn't to be for Bruce Mouat and Team GB. They won silver in the men's team curling. It followed a 9-6 defeat in the gold medal match to Canada. After a good start, the halftime break, the 8th, and then the 9th end proved to be crucial, with GB missing some shots. The Canadians made theirs and they grabbed 3 points. Could have been a 4 as well in that penultimate end. Canada have been at the centre of a cheating storm throughout these games after accusations of double touching. Once the stone had crossed the hog line, the old finger point. We heard from skip Brad Jacobs. He's the Canadian skip, incidentally, who says the cheat claims only spurred the team on.
I don't think we're a team that needs any more motivation. But when some things went down this week and people were using some pretty outrageous words like cheating, associating that with our team. I'll guarantee you that only motivated us further to go out and prove to everyone that we're the best team, that we are also one of the best and now at the top of the podium, and I would say the best team in the world. And that, Canada and curling in Canada is special to us. It means a lot to us. Integrity means a lot to us. And, we wanted to go out there and prove everyone wrong and rise to the top of the podium. And I will say, for anyone who called us cheaters, for anyone who said negative things about Mark Kennedy, about us, about Canada, about our families, I hope that the image of us standing on top of the podium, embracing one another, smiling ear to ear with our gold medals is burned into your brain forever.
So another silver medal for Team Mouat, 4 years on from Beijing, and that's 4 medal matches now for Skip Bruce and 4 defeats in the mixed doubles and men's team. So Michael has been speaking to him and Hammy MacMillan the morning after, the night before.
Actually feeling pretty good. Wow, what a 3 weeks we've had. Just been incredible to actually experience what a true Olympics is like. And we've all had our family and friends here, and now getting to celebrate with them last night and, celebrate a medal rather than commiserating a loss in a final. But yeah, it's just been so special to have everyone here, and I'm really proud that we're taking something home to hopefully inspire another generation of curlers.
And Hammy, it's definitely a medal won, a silver medal that Team GB and Team Mouat have won at these games, isn't it?
Yeah, that's been a hard fought medal, to be honest. We came here with one goal, and I guess one goal only, and that was to win the gold. And we came close, but no, we had to battle this week. We really did have to dig deep. We lost a couple of games in the round robin. We had the hope that Switzerland beat Italy in the last game. Those guys did that. You know what I mean? And we had a hell of a game versus them on the in the semi final. And yeah, we had a good game yesterday, a great 8 ends, and unfortunately we just missed a couple of shots to that ninth end, which at this level you can't do. And unfortunately, I guess it came away with a silver. But as you said, though, it's a silver one.
And Bruce, how have you found the whole experience? You've been there since day one with the mixed doubles. You were still there late last night. How have you found the week? Has it been enjoyable? Have you been able to enjoy it? Has it been stressful? Has it been hard?
Yeah, roller coaster definitely is a description I would use for it, but I've enjoyed every moment of it, to be honest. Like all the hard moments, all the good moments, it's been incredible. It was tough to finish fourth in the mixed doubles, but like bouncing back in the men's and having to grind through the week and winning that semi-final is something I'll remember for a long time. And having the support of the guys is always I knew it was always going to be there, and I've loved playing with these guys. I said it yesterday. It's like the best decision I ever made was to join up with the three of them and to be on the journey that we've been on for 9 years.
No, this guy's an absolute trooper. To come out here and play 22 games of curling, and obviously the bronze medal didn't go his way, and two Olympics in a row now. He's had to really dig deep and park that mixed doubles to then come out fighting for himself and for us. He's done that immensely the last two Olympics. He's the best player in the world, if you ask me. So this week's been amazing.
What about these Canadians then? Everybody's been talking about cheating and swearing this week. Has it affected you at all? Does it take away anything from the final last night?
To be honest, no. You know what I mean? The word cheating that's getting thrown around, I'll be honest, like it's a violation. You know what I mean? It's been like offside in football. You know what I mean? I think the reaction that kicked off on that second or third day of the men's and women's round robin, look, personally, I think it could have been handled a lot different at the time. But it was a violation. It was offside. I think it was, a mistake on their part where they could have handled it different. If you're asking me personally, the Canadians, they could have handled that situation a lot differently and it wouldn't have escalated the way it did. But look, that takes nothing away from us playing them in the final. It was a good game.
I also kind of enjoyed the drama of it. Like there was so many TikToks.
The memes are brilliant, honestly.
That made it so much better. Just like, there was so many people that fell in the figure skating and then people would just edit Mark's like finger the skate. So that was the quite exciting to see that curling was getting such a platform, even on like TikTok and social media rather than just on like television and stuff. So
what's the old saying? Any publicity is good publicity. So curling's it's gone worldwide. If it's because of that, yeah, we'd like to think it's actually because of the games and the results and the good performances and the amazing shots that we all do. But it doesn't take away from this week.
And 4 years to the next games is an awful long time. What do you guys just do now? Just take a bit of time, reflect, enjoy, celebrate?
Yeah, like we've got next month off basically, which is quite exciting. We're gonna have a celebration with all our family and friends, like a proper one back home. Hopefully get everyone in the same room again have a good celebration. And then in April, the boys and I are actually all playing in a professional curling league. It's called Rock League, and we're actually all in separate teams. And my team is so much better than Hammy's team,
He's
which is
lying.
pretty
He's
cool.
lying. He's lying.
So yeah, we're gonna actually play against each other in April in Canada. So that'll be pretty cool. And then yeah, we're just all gonna have a sit down over summer probably and figure out what we want to do. But we all know that we've got a lot of drive and a lot of passion, and we're still missing that gold medal. So you never know what's gonna happen.
Bruce Mouat and Hammy MacMillan suggesting maybe there, Michael, that there could be another one in 4 years' time in the French Alps.
Yeah, well, I think they're still, relatively young people in a sport that does require a certain amount of physicality, but is not a physical sport in the same way as others that we could name quite easily. So I think they've probably got the appetite to go again. Whether someone else, another team, comes up and overtakes them, I think that is the thing that we need to think about now, because they will go back and compete as Team Mouat. In fact, as we were hearing that interview, they're going to go back and compete against each other in this new curling league. So we're going to have a Team MacMillan and a Team Mouat. They're all taking each other on. Now, could another quartet emerge? Will there be maybe one or two out of that four that haven't got the stomach to go again or the wherewithal to go again? I think there will inevitably be a lot of question marks. They're all going to go away and have their month off now, as they told me there. Then they're going to come back and play in that league that they say, and then they'll regroup and regather. As I said, I think it would be very early for them to go, you know what, we're not going to have another tilt at the Olympics. Still very raw this morning. They've won 2 silvers. I think it was Grant Hardy who said it took me 4 years to get over the first silver. I'm not sure how long it's going to take me to get over this. Do you want to put yourself through that again? Some members of the team might not want to. Others might be fueled to go again. And we saw that, didn't we, with Eve Muirhead's team? It just took a bit of time to finally get to the top spot. But take nothing away from a double silver medalist.
I wonder as well what you rightly say about having another team kind of push you. And it needs to be a British team, it needs to be a Scottish team that's going to push you a bit harder because they know they're British number one at the moment and know that if they wanted to, they could carry on. But as you say, maybe, and I think Eve had that a little bit, didn't she? Into those games in Beijing, that she had to raise her game to even get to the Olympics.
Yeah, and we saw obviously then Team Morrison emerge as the successors. And I know Team Morrison, the women's team, didn't get into the knockout stages, but I think they were rapidly improving. And if you ask them, I think they felt by the end of the round robin, they were probably the best team in it. It just didn't start. I think they were defeated in their first 2 matches. It just didn't start brilliantly for them. But yeah, they were pushing on Eve Muirhead's team. I think Team Morrison definitely will look at another tilt at this one. And just, listening to Bruce and Hammy there and seeing their body language on the Zoom call that we had together this morning, I wouldn't write them off just yet.
A 3rd Olympics for Brad Hall and his bobsleigh team, and a 7th place finish in Milano Cortina. The Swiss number 1 crew gate-crashing the German top 3 to win bronze. Team GB of Brad, Greg Cackett, Taylor Lawrence and Leon Greenwood slipped behind Switzerland 2 in the 4th and final heat to finish 7th. They had been 6th in Beijing. That second run on the penultimate day of the Games that left Brad emotional and unsure about what happened, putting paid to any medal hope, I'm afraid, after they'd sat in bronze medal position after Heat 1. And we've talked about looking at the curling teams, whether you have another team that comes through and challenging you after 3 Olympic Games for Brad. And unfortunately, despite all the World Cup medals that he's won, not really getting anywhere near an Olympic medal. You hope maybe there will be someone that can challenge him to be better or come through in the years to come.
Yeah, I think that is a quartet where we might see some changes. I mean, we had Greg Cackett, didn't we, on the podcast a few days ago? I think he kind of suggested that this was going to be his 3rd and probably final Games, but he also said that the Olympic medal was the one medal that he didn't have in his collection. He had golds, he had silvers, he had bronzes from everything else, but didn't have an Olympic medal. He still doesn't have an Olympic medal. Some of the comments from the other guys suggest that, they want to have another go at the Olympics. So whether we might see 1 or 2 returning members of this team and 1 or 2 bits of new blood coming in. We seem to have been at this point, I think, over the past 3-4 Olympiads now with British bobsleigh and the men's four, always slightly at a crossroads. I mean, they got awarded that bronze retrospectively, as we remember from a few editions ago. I've always said that had that bronze been won at the time, we might not now be having these constant questions and crossroads at the end of the games, because I think the programme would have been very different. We knew that Brad had to go away, crowdfund himself to get back to the games. They have got back to the games. They are back on a funded programme. They are obviously linked with skeleton. So if there is going to be some investment coming in to British bobsleigh and skeleton, how will they spend that money? Will they put it all towards the skeleton, or will there be further investment for bobsleigh as well? It's going to be a really interesting one, I think, to watch over the next few weeks, months and years.
It's also, you have to realise the Germans are just supreme and totally dominate, a bit like Great Britain have done with skeleton. You could argue other nations are looking at Britain and going, well, you're amazing at skeleton. There's no point even trying in skeleton. And the Germans very much with bobsleigh as well. You look at the Netherlands, we talked about in the last episode with the speed skating and the short track. They're just dominant in that. And that's where they get their medals. But you're right. The fact that bobsleigh is linked to skeleton, and we're so dominant in skeleton, and both the men and the women, were there, apart from Germany, the only team to have 3 women in the whole Olympics, etc. So there's obviously, the skills are there, but you're right, it doesn't feel like we've moved on in bob, and we're just there or thereabouts. There's a chance of a medal, and they should be doing it because of the performances they've had from World Cup performances, certainly last year. But it just never feels like they can actually take the next step and cross that bronze medal line like the Swiss team did today and burst into the top 3.
Yeah, they gate crashed it. As you said, they showed that despite German dominance, there is room for another nation on that podium. Had these games been 12 months previously, as you rightly say, bear in mind how good the World Cup results had been in the season before this Olympic season, where Great Britain finished 3rd overall in the World Cup standings, it would have been probably Great Britain on that Olympic podium. 12 months on this year, the World Cup results, they haven't been at the same level. And I think the result they've had here in Milano Cortina shows that as well. On to the women's two women bobsleigh in Cortina. The defending champions Laura Nolte and Deborah Levi of Germany. They won. It was a German 1-2 again. We have mentioned America's Kayleigh Brewster Humphreys. Brilliant name. If there was a gold medal for names, that might be up there. Winning bronze. Adele Nicol and Ashley Nelson for Team GB ensured that they slid all 4 heats in the final with a better second day. The third run saw them move from 21st to 16th. They finished 15th overall. Saw some brilliant videos of Adele and Ashley last night celebrating, singing Sweet Caroline. And talking of names, obviously Adele's got the same first name as my wife, and will probably mean now the Olympics are over, there'll be less confusion in our household when my wife comes down on a Monday morning and says, why have I got to record you a voice note about what I did at the weekend? You know what I did at the weekend. We were both here. We did the washing, had a bit of roast beef.
It's a must listen to be fair.
Ironed the school uniforms.
If Adele was to do us a WhatsApp of the Waydock family weekend, we must listen on Anything But Footy, I would have thought.
Yeah, I really need to make a difference between the two Adeles in my in my mobile phone. Thank you to Adele Nicol and Ashley Nelson for all their support to Anything But Footy in the build-up and during these games, and we'll hopefully hear from them. A reflective chat with them at some point coming up in the next few weeks.
We now know who will carry the flag in the closing ceremony tonight in Verona for Great Britain as focus switches from these winter games to the French Alps in 2030. Yes, we move on already. Matt Weston is the most successful British man in winter Olympic history after winning 2 gold medals in the same games in the skeleton, something that's never happened before. Chef de mission Eve Muirhead chose him because she said not only his phenomenal achievements at these games, but also for his dedication to his goals.
In her 4th Olympic Games, Charlotte Banks topped the podium alongside Hugh Nightingale in the mixed team snowboard cross, her first Olympic gold medal, and that came after a season where she was challenged by injuries. She's also a multiple World Cup winner and Britain's first ever snowboard world champion back in 2021. She was selected by Eve Muirhead in recognition of her resilience and determination. the inspiration that others take from her journey. Congratulations then to Charlotte Banks and Matt Weston on a remarkable Winter Games and the honour of carrying the Union flag into tonight's closing ceremony in Verona. We'll reflect more on that later in the pod with UK Sport.
This is Milano Daily. We talk about the sporting performance, as Michael says, of these games with UK Sport, plus our news from the games, because we cover the Olympics all the time, not once every 4 years. It's all coming up.
It's tax season, and at LifeLock, we know you're tired of numbers. But here's a big one you need to hear. Billions. That's the amount of money in refunds the IRS has flagged for possible identity fraud. Now here's another big number. 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed. One last big number. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast for the threats you can't control. Terms apply.
Hi, I'm Chris McCormick. You're listening to Anything But Footy with the latest on the Winter Olympics.
This is Anything But Footy, Milano Daily, probably the last one. There may be one more reflective piece that we will bring it back for. But in other news from the games, Johannes Hosflot Klæbo won 6 out of 6. That is a record 6th gold at Milano Cortina 2026 as Norway swept the medals in the men's cross-country 50-kilometre mass start classic. Great titles, these cross-country races. He's now won 11 gold medals overall, and only behind Michael Phelps as the most gold medals won in Olympic history. For Team GB, another record equaling 6th place for Andrew Musgrave in his 5th Olympic Games. Joe Davis also 16th.
You do get some bang for your buck, don't you, with the cross-country skiers? Johannes Klæbo, 6 out of 6. I know when we've spoken to some athletes and they say to us, our Olympics, we're going to be defined on less than 4 minutes by milliseconds, for example, in individual skeleton. But that guy has done 6 cross-country races, finishing with a 50-kilometre one and won 6 medals. That is outstanding. If the overseas sports personality of the year, I give it to him now. Yeah. Have you watched it? It's just unbelievable. So what Andrew Musgrave has done as well. These guys are unreal. They are different class to other human beings. Andrew Musgrave, 5 Olympic Games, and yet another brilliant performance. And as he said to you beforehand, this isn't it like 5 and I'm done. He's not doing the Dave Riding here. He's going 5 and I'm getting better. So I might go on to 6. So I've loved the cross-country skiing. Not something I've watched a lot of in the past, but yeah, I've really enjoyed watching it here. Meanwhile, the Netherlands inevitably claimed both gold medals on the final day of speed skating in the women's and the men's mass start. I texted my Dutch friend, said, could we borrow a couple of your speed skating medals? And she texted back, no.
Or what is no in Dutch? Anyway, I have not a clue. No. Italy celebrated a 1-2 finish in the men's ski cross. Ollie Davis for Team GB failed to reach the quarterfinals, finishing 4th in his heat in the first round.
And talking about brilliant events I've loved watching, ski mountaineering. That deserves its place on the Olympic programme. France won the mixed relay. Any Olympic event that involves climbing some stairs. It's got to be one for the future, hasn't it? It's got to stay there. Switzerland claimed the silver medal. Spain won the bronze. So onto the medal table. Norway, 18 golds, 21 medals. USA, 11 golds, 32 medals, and an ice hockey final still to come as we record. Netherlands, 20 medals in total, 10 golds. Superior in speed skating, as we've mentioned. Italy, great for the host nation, 10 gold medals. 30 in total. And Great Britain, 5 medals. So that equals 2014 and 2018, but 3 of them gold. So 15th on the medal table. Best ever Winter Games performance from Team GB in history.
All down to Milano Daily every day from Anything But Footy, inspiring them on, I'm sure. So the Winter Olympics, as Michael said, for Team GB, 3 golds, a silver, a bronze, described as an incredible fortnight by UK Sport. But what next? Now, UK Sport is the government agency responsible for running elite sport in this country, ultimately decides the funding decisions to individual sports. And Dr. Kate Baker is the organisation's Director of Performance and has been speaking to Michael this morning.
The last fortnight has been absolutely incredible. I mean, there have been highs and lows along the way, haven't there? But to see our athletes perform the way that they have, both on and off the field of play, has been a real joy and a real privilege to get to be out here. So it's been fantastic. It's already been a historic Games for Team GB.
Last time we spoke, of course, we were talking about the medal ambitions, that range of 4 to 8. And when you talk about things you didn't expect, the fact that Team GB won 3 gold medals in 48 hours, what does that mean for winter sports?
So we've never won more than a single gold medal at a Winter Games before, Winter Olympic Games before. So it's really transformational for us as a nation in terms of winter sports and the potential that we have. So I think we've put a real marker down now to really set a new standard for how we move forward in the winter sports space. And we should be absolutely delighted with the gold medals, which of course we are, but we should also be delighted about some of the other performances that we've seen. The female sliders in skeleton, for example, were unbelievable. You know, it's almost a games too soon for those girls, and yet they were mixing it within the top 10 and at times really pushing for the podium. So I think lots of nations will be looking at us and thinking, oh, crikey, the Brits are coming.
And those gold medals, I think we discovered this in Paris, they are very difficult to get, aren't they? So although it's 4, it's the bottom end of the medal ambition, the fact that there's 3 golds there somehow kind of lifts it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, understatement of the year to say it's hard to get a gold medal. I mean, it is impossible on impossible, and yet we see these extraordinary athletes doing unbelievable things and somehow achieving the unthinkable. So it really does mean a lot. I think it gives a lot of confidence to not just the athletes here, but the athletes back home who are already starting to think about LA, and of course our Paralympians who will be back out here in 12 days' time.
Medals aren't the only measure that you will be looking at, of course. The number of 4th place finishes, whilst frustrating, offers some encouragement.
Yeah, I think we have to look really pragmatically at the fourths on both sides. You know, were there near misses that could have been avoided? Possibly. But also what an amazing depth that we have. So we've had, as of this morning, we've got 20 top 10s at this Games. That's unheard of given the cohort size that we have, and shows that we really are mixing it with some of the winter sports powerhouses now. So I think we can take real confidence from that. And of course, moving forwards into the French Alps, another Winter Games on our time zone is just incredibly exciting. And I think a real opportunity for us to get after.
When we spoke in London, one of the things that struck me was the fact that you said kind of after Paris, UK sport just looked at what they were doing and kind of went for a new approach because they realized they couldn't just carry on doing the same old thing. So whilst this has been a really good Games, there's still lots of things that you think we could put into practice for next time to make it even better.
Yeah, there are. And that's encouraging. It's encouraging for me because I think if you look at something and think, gosh, I don't know where the gains are, that's when you start to worry if you're in a job like mine. And that's not the case. There are so many things that we can do differently that might give us a competitive advantage. Our ability to be innovative in Great Britain has made us what we are as a nation competing in Olympic and Paralympic sports. And there's more we can do again. And whether that's in the way that we manage ourselves in and around Games time itself, or critically across the cycle as we build up to an Olympic and Paralympic Games. So there's lots and lots that we've been working on. And I think what we've seen out here is confirming that we're heading in the right direction.
Has it been logistically tough just because of the footprint of the Games? Has that brought challenges?
I think, yeah, it's challenging if you're trying to move between the clusters, but the reality is that not many athletes and support staff would be doing that. So it's a little bit of a challenge for me to move between them. But look, I mean, I'm in a pretty privileged position, so I don't mind it too much being in a car for a few hours to see some amazing performances. So I think logistically, it's an interesting one. I think what Yves Muirhead has done unbelievably well as chef de mission is somehow created this one team feel, despite the fact that they're dispersed across different clusters. And so today is a really exciting day because we'll all come together for the closing ceremony. And so everybody's getting on a bus to Verona this morning or this afternoon after the events this morning. And they'll all come together as one. And it'll be a little bit of a reunion and hopefully a bit of a party atmosphere too.
On the theme of one team, is there maybe an argument, and we have spoken many times about how sports operate in their silos a bit in the UK. Is there maybe an argument to try and bring some of the winter sports together to try and make the best of the funding available moving forward?
So I think one of the unique features of the British system is that we are small and we're pretty agile, and our competitive advantage has always been our ability to work really closely together. And we're at our best when we share fast and learn fast, and in that fail fast. And so that's part of the broader plan for all sports, not just winter sports, is that we all work much, much more closely together, that we know that we've got brilliant, brilliant brains within the British system. We are the envy of the world in so many ways. Our ability to get that brain power to where it's needed, whatever the sport it's in, I think is the challenge that we're all trying to solve now. And I think we've got a plan for it. So I feel quite excited.
And does that mean just being a bit more strategic in perhaps the events, the sports, the disciplines that we are targeting moving forward?
I think it's as much about recognizing where there are similarities between our sports, and they're not always obvious similarities. So it mightn't be, if you've got an endurance sport in one discipline and matching it with another, there are other things that our sports try and solve, unique challenges that we face now. And whether that's, working with a different kind of athlete to those that we've seen in the past, or whether it's about competition strategy and trying to decide which ones you go to and which ones you don't. We know that in all sport, whether it's Olympic, Paralympic, or professional sport, the congestion within competition schedules is significant. And so working across sports to solve those kind of problems and see how people are doing things differently is absolutely the key to our success.
£32.5 million was the amount put into winter sport funding in this cycle. I think people would be naive to think that 3 gold medals mean you're going to get a whole load more money for the future cycle. Is that fair comment? Do you think that the finances will probably stay broadly similar?
So we work to a finite envelope across summers, winters, Olympic and Paralympic sports. And so there are always difficult decisions that we need to make, but we plan over the long term. And I think there's lots of potential being shown out here in the winter sports. So we're looking at all of those winter sports and we're reviewing them over the next few months. And we've also been talking to them for the last 18 months to try and give them a sense of what funding could look like going forward. So we'll complete that process over the next couple of months. But suffice it to say, everywhere in society at the moment, we all have to be a little bit more careful with our pennies. So that applies to us too.
The message to government: sport and elite sport still very important?
Absolutely. I mean, the joy that this Winter Games has brought across the nation in what has been a tricky time for all of us as we've emerged from a pandemic and challenges around, cost of living and just how life is at the moment. It is a joy to see these young people doing extraordinary things which defy logic and belief. And I just think you can't put a price on that.
Dr. Kate Baker talking to you, Michael, there, UK Sport Director of Performance. They're obviously delighted. The medal ambition was 4 to 8. It's 5. They wanted more. We know that. We heard from Catherine Granger, who used to run UK Sport, is now chair of Team GB, of course, and the British Olympic Association, thinking that they could better that medal tally. It didn't work that way, and it was clear after the first week that we weren't ever going to beat it. But the fact that they made it, and the headlines will say the greatest games ever. And yep. That, when you invest £32.5 million into the Olympics and the Paralympics, and that's still to come, that is worth putting on your CV, isn't it?
Yeah, the greatest Winter Olympics ever. I mean, a lot of plaudits for Eve Muirhead as chef de mission, a rookie chef de mission. Must be difficult as well, I think, to step from that role as an athlete where she just would have been very self-centered, very focused in everything that she's done at the Olympic Games before. It would all have been about delivering the best possible performance for her as an individual and for the team Muirhead, to suddenly with this overview role. And chef de mission's not just a badge. It's, as we know, because we've spoken to people that have been chef de missions at Olympics and Paralympics, it's a very, very detailed, important and busy role. And it can really impact on everything that goes on during games time. And I think that Eve has negotiated the responsibilities that she's been given over the past couple of years since she got named as chef de mission really, really well. It's not a full-time job, if you like, in the lead up to the games, but it is a full-time job, if that makes sense, because you can never stop thinking about it or take your eye off of what you need to do. And whatever she's done in terms of creating that team environment and giving the athletes the best possible opportunities to succeed, it's worked. And you could see And we have spoken on this podcast many times before about athletes that you can see going into governance administration in sport, not just happy to be the pundit, for a few days every year or a couple of weeks every 4 years, whatever, but people that can go away and have a real long-term impact in sport. And I think Eve Muirhead has demonstrated, with the right people around her, in the right organisation, supported by other right organisations, that she could do that.
And also, on a UK sport point of view, I think Dr. Kate talked about how the sport should be sharing knowledge. We touched on it a little bit in the last episode about moving forward, how the winter sports can come together and how they can plan for these games and then hand the team to Team GB, where Eve Muirhead, as you said, did such a great job leading in that. So, look, it's a job well done. We've got the Paralympics to come. They were a bit more worried about how many medals we're going to win in the Paralympics. So it'll be interesting to see whether that changes slightly over the course of the next couple of weeks. But of course, we'll talk about that in a bit more detail before those games get underway.
Yeah, lots of other debate and conversation points from these winter games. We've got some good ideas to come for our Milan Memories podcast, which I'm sure will be coming your way very soon.
The burnt pizza is still the highlight. Can I point out?
Not for my stomach, it wasn't. In other news away from the Winter Games, track cycling world sprint champion Emma Finnegan is the British champion in the women's keirin. Matthew Richardson won his second title of the week alongside Marcus Hiley and Harry Radford in the men's team sprint on an action-packed day 3 of the Lloyd's National Track Championships in Manchester. Sophie Unwin and Jenny Hole won title number 3 of the week in a dramatic women's B individual pursuit. So not a bad week for the whole family. Jenny at the cycling. Dad Nigel, of course, man in charge of British curling. Won a silver. So well done to both of those. And Matt Bostock crowned the men's elimination champion.
We will, of course, keep you up to date with all the Winter Olympic news and the Olympic sports news that develops over the weeks to come. We have the Paralympics to come. We can't wait to have that, of course. And I think it's always great that when you've really enjoyed an Olympics Games, which I think we have in Milan, that there's another one coming up, in less than 2 weeks. And we will look forward to that. This has been Milano Daily. We will, of course, continue it, as I say, with the Paralympics. You can check out our socials anytime. Watch out for the Team GB homecoming in the days to come as well. There is the Spotify Olympics music playlist to keep you in the mood. This has been Milano Daily from Anything But Footy.
Hi, I'm Lila Fear.
And I'm Lewis Gibson, and you're listening to Anything But Footy,
with the latest on the Winter Olympics.
This is Coke Zero Sugar. With real Coca-Cola taste and zero sugar. Listen closely. Hear those bubbles? That's the sound of delicious real Coca-Cola taste and zero sugar. Ice cold. Ah. Coke Zero Sugar. Real Coca-Cola taste. Zero sugar.